Hello, YouTube fans and Facebook fans of DX Engineering. It's 4 o'clock Eastern Time here in the Eastern Time Zone of the United States of America. It's time for the weekend special. And today we have a special guest. It's Dino, KL0S. Hi, Dino.
Hello, Tim. How are you?
Good, good. Dino, tell everybody where you live.
We're in Williamsburg, Virginia, in the southeastern part of Virginia.
Okay, and where did you get the KL0 call?
My wife and I were both in the service in the Army, and we did a couple of tours up in Alaska. So we kept the Alaskan calls as we moved around quite a bit.
Oh, okay. Where were you in Alaska?
First tour was at Fort Richardson, which was next to Anchorage. And we were there for about 4 years, and then we went back again and spent another year at Fort Richardson, and then moved up to Fort Wainwright, spent a couple of years there.
That's great. Well, Dino is one of the bloggers that writes for us on onallbands.com, and we wanted you to get to know Dino a little better and hear about his ham radio experience. And Dino, what was the first article? You have one or two up at the moment?
I think I've got two up. The first one talked about putting antennas up in the attic as an interim solution, or maybe a permanent solution for some folks who can't get things outside. And then the second one was the story of putting up the DX Engineering Thunderbolt 160-meter vertical and how we put that up and how effective it's been.
So let's talk about the antennas in the attic. That blog that you wrote, and that's up on allbands.com, and that is such a hard thing for folks in restricted areas, HOAs, CC&Rs. Tell us, give us the gist of that article so that we can, we'll go there and read more about it.
Sure. If you're restricted and you can only put antennas inside, and you have a somewhat adequate attic space that you can get into, and we're very fortunate here, and we've got a walk-in attic space, and I was able to put up a 3-element 6-meter beam with a 2-meter beam above it, a 220 antenna above it, and then a 432 antenna above it on top of a rotator. Ran the coaxes and preamp wires down to the shack. This was an interim solution until we put up a couple of towers next year, but they've worked pretty well. I've got 200 VUCC credits on 6 meters with my attic antennas, and works pretty good.
Well, that is very cool. I want to say hello to Val, IU3 Bravo Tango Yankee, and Andy, 2 Echo 0 Radio Echo Echo from Ohio. It's Kilo Echo 8 Mike Zulu Radio, and Whiskey 3 Mike Lima Japan. Hello to Michael in Pittsburgh, and Reinhardt from RF Kit. Good to have you on the show. Delta Hotel 3 November Alpha Bravo, and Kilo Papa 4 Lima Radio's on. And Greg says, Dino, you have a great signal on FT8 on 160 meters in Arizona. He's heard you many times. That's our friend Greg, NC7B, and November Lima 7 Delta. And let's see, here's John. Dino, thanks to you and your XYL for your service. And this being Veterans Day and all the time, thank you very much for your service. And I got to spend time with John last night on Zoom. He checked in from his vacation home down in North Carolina. And Whiskey Juliet 3 United and Sugar Juliet 2 Whiskey. And our friend Joe, K0NEB, and K9 Sugar Lima. And great bunch of folks on here today having a good time listening to Dino, KL0S, talk about attic antennas. You can read more about it. Go to onallbands.com. And tell us about the Thunderbolt experience. This is a DX Engineering 160-meter antenna.
Well, I've been a ham now for 50 some odd years, and up until a couple of years ago, I'd never really been on 160 meters, and I've been fortunate to been pretty lucky with DX. Got #1 honor roll, and I was looking for something to do new, and I've got a little bit of space here in our our current QTH. And I thought, well, what about 160? And since I did have the space, I was in the DX Engineering catalog one day and I looked at that antenna and I said, I think that might work. And got with Mark, W8BBQ, as my great salesperson, and ordered it and got it. And one thing I would like to point out about DX Engineering is that you take customer feedback really well. The pipe that you have to mount that antenna in has to be a special kind of pipe. It's got to be pretty sturdy, even in the concrete. And that was a real experience trying to find that pipe locally. And that's a long story, over a beer kind of story. But you guys, after I gave you some feedback, you decided to make it easy on customers and actually sell that mounting pipe. So that good on you guys for doing that. And I put it up, and within 1 year, almost exactly to the day, I was able to get DXCC on 160. I do have an amplifier that does help, but for about the first 50 countries, I was not using an amplifier, just 100 watts or so. And it's a real performer. You got to have a little bit of space for it, but it's nice, especially if you put it in conjunction with some beverages on the ground and beverages up in the air. Makes a nice system.
So there's another good blog for everybody to read on allbands.com by Dino, KL0S, how he worked 100 countries on 160 meters with the DX Engineering Thunderbolt antenna. And how tall is the Thunderbolt?
I think it's about 54 feet, as I recall. It has a capacity top hat on it, so you have to put 4 supports out to the sides. I used the DX Engineering base plate to connect all the radials. I put out 3,000 feet of radial wire underneath it, 30 each 100 footers. And those used the DX Engineering staples to keep those things down in the ground. All the years I'd known folks who used verticals, they always told me, you put the wire out and it'll disappear. And I always said, oh yeah, sure it will. Well, yeah, sure it does. It just disappears right into the ground. You'll never see those radials again.
Yeah, no, that's great. That's the way it works. And so glad to hear a success story. 54 feet high on 160 meters. I mean, normally you got to be a lot higher. So that is a great story. And let's see, we've got WD8 NVN in Columbus, Ohio, and our production manufacturing manager, Corey, W3CDG, who builds those antennas for you. Corey has a great team of people down there, and I visited there this week, and everybody was busy. And speaking of Alaska, Kilo Lima 4 Sugar X-ray is on. And Jamie Lee Schwartz, she doesn't miss a show. And here's Ray Novak from ICOM America. His beautiful rigs in the background at both stations. And he's camping in the middle of Texas. And so tell us, what hardware do you have in there? What radio equipment, Dino? What's in the shack?
Well, the IC7851 is the main radio nowadays. I decided I wasn't getting any younger. I said, well, I need a radio for probably the rest of the days that I'll be here before Silent Key comes along. So I've got the 7851, and the 7600 above it is what it replaced. And above that is a Drake C line that I bought brand new in 1979 and did all, of course, the modifications. And you'll never see me get rid of that C line until I'm gone, and it'll go to a good home. But we've got the Drake L4B amplifier that I've also bought new about that same time frame, and it's been a real workhorse. I've got the Ameritron 1306 next to it, which takes care of 160 meters for me, since the Drake doesn't. And then all the associated accessories and things that go along with it. So 7851 is a great radio, but like I said during our meeting the other night, that you were gracious enough to come make a presentation to us. I asked Toby if she would let me have a second one as a spare, but she said, no, I think you could probably just, you can make do with one.
You have a great club, Dino. It was a lot of fun the other night. And of course, Toby is president, and just a great time, and super questions. And I want to make sure our viewers know, if you'd like to have me come to one of your Zoom club meetings and give a presentation, I do that several times a week to clubs all over the U.S., and I've done even some in Europe. So just send an email to k8mnj@dxengineering.com, or send one to me. That's fine. You can find me right off of the K3LR website, k3lr@k3lr.com, and we'll make arrangements to come to your club meeting. I've got 7 or 8 PowerPoint slide decks that we can give, and certainly love to visit clubs. Clubs are the backbone of this hobby. And let's see, Stephen Ryan says DX Engineering is a first-class operation, and I'll agree with that. We work very hard at it. We talk about it every day, and we focus in on that. And Don says he wished he had the real estate for a beverage, but there are some other antennas like the RF Pro 1B loop, and the beverage on the ground, and even the Foursquare that you don't have to, have such a large area for. And Valero, I think Dino answered the question about radials. He has 30 100-foot radials, and we've got Kilo Delta 2 Echo radio on. And Jamie Lee says that's a lot of radios, Dino. Well, it's always good to have a lot of radios. You never know, they're going to come in handy. And each one of those radios that Dino has a story to them of why he has them. So that's really cool. And Whiskey Queen 2 India. And let's see, Don says he still has a Yaesu FT901DM. And that's from the late 90s, early 80s. I remember that radio. And so, Dino, tell us what's on your mind, what you might be blogging about in the future on allbands.com.
I thought I might venture off into something about clubs, because, as you mentioned earlier, clubs are really the backbone of the hobby. Some folks have good experiences with clubs. Unfortunately, some folks don't. There was an article set in 73 magazine way back. It was called The Care and Feeding of the Ham Radio Club. And I think I'm going to take that. I've been fortunate enough to have been the president of 3 different clubs. My wife has actually replaced me as president of this club, and I've become the director at large, which is sort of the gray beard of the organization. I get to recommend things and then not have any responsibility for it. So I think I'll take that on and see if we can. I've learned a lot of lessons about clubs and how to organize them, and volunteer organizations are a lot different than the infantry brigade that I commanded. It takes a little bit of different type of leadership there, but the same principles apply. And we doubled the size of our club in the last 3 years, and we've made a special attempt to recruit, train, license, and retain YLs. We have I should have counted them up, but we're getting well over 20 some odd YLs. About 8 of them have their extra class licenses. And our VE sessions, I'm still waiting for us to conduct the all YL VE session, because can you imagine the poor candidate who's sitting there, the guy who's sitting there seeing all those extra class YLs who are administering the test? It could be a little bit of extra problems with them during the test. So I'm looking forward to that one.
Yeah, no, that sounds great, Dino. We're on today with Dino, KL0S. He lives in Virginia, and he is one of the bloggers for onallbands.com. And Dino, tell us what kind of antennas you have outside.
Well, right now, actually, the only antennas we have are the Thunderbolt on 160, and I have a Step IR vertical, the Big IR it's called. And actually, that antenna is only 32 feet tall, but I'm here to tell you that on 80 meters, 40 meters, and 30 meters, that antenna is a crackerjack. I've been DXing now for 50 years, and we've had towers and Yagis and that type thing before, but I've never really had a great antenna on the lower bands, and that was the one I put up when we moved here. And it helps to have an amplifier, of course, but yeah, I've still maintained my honor roll every year by working whatever comes up new. And that's really But as we've discussed before, we've got a tower project coming for next spring, and we're looking at Roan 55 style tower, and looking to put up something that'll do 40 through 10 meters and maybe a 6-meter beam on top of that. So I've already got all the awards. It's my XYL now who wants to do the DXing. So it's all going to be for her.
Well, that's great, Dino. It's, there's nothing like a project. And I'm certain that you can, that you're a great project manager. And that's a lot of fun, seeing the tower from the project, the vision, and then the vision becomes reality. There's nothing like it. And so we are excited to help you live your dream and experience that project.
And thank you for turning me on to a professional tower guy. I've done all my work before, but at this point in my life, it's time to let the pro do it. And we're hooked up with him, and we're in the design phase right now. So we're looking forward to it. Yeah,
that is great. Well, we want to make sure you come back and give us an update as you're doing it, and share that with all the viewers, because that is an exciting project. We have November 8, Fox Lima is on from West Virginia, and Sandy DL1QQ is on from Germany, and from Quebec it's Victor Echo 2 India Alpha Tango, and Herm is on Whiskey Charlie 8 Hotel. And hopefully everybody's going to have some fun on the radio this weekend. The KDKA special event is still going on, and there are 4 call signs associated with KDKA. For more information, go to QRZ.com, look up W8 X-Ray Kilo, and they've got all the information there about the KDKA special event. The Worked All Europe RIDI contest is on this weekend, the Japan International DX contest, the 1010 data contest. I mean, there's so much to do in this hobby. I mean, Dino, how do you have enough time during the day?
I have absolutely no idea. Before I left active duty, I would talk to my friends who were retired, and they said, "You wouldn't believe how busy I am." And I would say, "Oh yeah, right, Then I retired, and yeah, they were right. I am busy, and it's nice because most of what I do is up to me what I do. But you said the other day during our meeting that you wake up in the morning and the first thing you think about is ham radio, and the last thing you think about before you go to bed is ham radio. And my wife is a little bit suspect of all of that after all these years, but she's gotten used to it. We just had our 44th wedding anniversary. She moved into the bachelor officer quarters next door to me when we were both second lieutenants. That's how we met. So the rest is history.
Well, that's a great story, Dino, and thanks so much for sharing your story here today. I do want to say hello to Oscar Zulu 1 Delta Whiskey X-Ray and India Kilo 6 Sierra India Oscar K5 Alpha Radio November and Whiskey Juliet 3 Uniform. So, Dino, thanks very much for coming on. We'll look forward. We did get hooked up on the air. You tracked me down one night on 160 meters. So that was great. And thanks very much for your card. And we look forward to more of your blogs. And if you want more information about the Facebook, YouTube shows, you want to read some really great blogs, updated frequently. We're adding all the time. Go to onallbands.com. All the information is there. You'll have a great time. So we wish everybody a good weekend and hope to hear you on the air. 73 from DX Engineering.
73.